Caught in a web of lies, my 20-year marriage crumbled before my eyes. The scream was silent, trapped in my throat. A raw, animalistic sound that threatened to shatter the fragile reality I was clinging to. 20 years. 20 years of shared dreams, whispered secrets, and unwavering love, now dissolving into a toxic pool of betrayal. How could this be my life? How could the woman I trusted more than anyone else in the world plunge a knife so deep into my heart? The signs, like insidious tendrils, had been there all along, subtly twisting and distorting our reality. I just hadn't seen them, or hadn't wanted to. She started getting these late-night texts, mysterious messages that would light up her phone screen with an unfamiliar glow. Then there were the frequent drinks with the pal outings, something totally out of character for her. I even felt happy that she was broadening her social circle, being more outgoing. How naive I was. And yoga. She picked up yoga, went religiously every week. She always seemed unusually stiff for someone who supposedly practiced yoga regularly. Then the hang-up calls started. If I was near her phone, whoever was on the other end would immediately disconnect. We got spam calls. Sure. And debt collectors looking for the previous owner of our number. But they never hung up right away. Never. I wasn't supposed to be home. My work takes me out of town. And we were leaving tomorrow on a much-anticipated 2-week road trip. We'd been so busy with family and friends all summer. This trip was our chance to reconnect, to rediscover each other. But work was unexpectedly slow, so I came home early yesterday afternoon. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw a truck I didn't recognize. Our neighbor had asked me about a new truck in the neighborhood recently, but I brushed it off. Now, staring at the unfamiliar vehicle, a sickening dread began to crawl its way up my spine. A cold, primal instinct slammed into me, a premonition of utter devastation. Even though I loved and trusted my wife, I couldn't ignore the feeling. It was overwhelming. I crept around the side of the house and peered through the open bedroom window. As I got closer, I could hear them. My worst nightmare was unfolding right before my eyes. My beautiful wife, my life partner, was in bed with another man. My bed, the sight of them together, tangled in a web of deceit, ripped the breath from my lungs. I wanted to scream, to rage, to destroy, but I turned and fled, desperate to escape the suffocating weight of betrayal. I spent the night in my family's cabin, drowning my sorrows in whatever alcohol I could find. I fought the urge to do something I'd regret forever. Right now, I don't even care what happens to me. I was planning on confronting her today, but I realized I'm not ready. All I feel is burning, white-hot anger, and all I can think about is violence. I'm back at the cabin now, staring at a 60 ounces bottle of rum. I know I shouldn't get wasted and make stupid choices, but part of me just wants to obliterate the pain, to forget everything. I know this is a pivotal moment in my life, that the choices I make in the coming days will define my future. I'm reaching out to strangers because I can't face my friends or family yet. Screw this whole situation. Okay. Deep breaths. The rum is staying put. At least for now. I called my brother, and he's on his way. He should be here in a few hours. Meanwhile, my wife just texted me, telling me how much she loves me and how excited she is for our trip. I haven't replied. Just a quick update, and a few clarifications. I'm feeling a little better today. Believe it or not, the pain is still there, like a punch to the gut, but it's subsided a bit. I'm even starting to think about the future, which honestly scares me. Am I just incredibly resilient? Or is this a sign of some kind of breakdown to come? Okay. To address some of the questions and comments I've been seeing, when I said wife and best friend, I meant the dual roles my wife and I had in our relationship. I don't even know the other guy, let alone consider him a friend. I didn't get a good look at him, but from what I saw and based on the truck, I don't think he's someone I know. We don't have kids, but we were planning on starting a family soon. We recently sold our house and we're planning on moving closer to my work in September. And to my neighbor, thank you. I'll find a way to express my gratitude subtly, like you did for me. Honestly, coming home to Willow Creek after a long work trip may have been one of the worst experiences I've ever had. I'm sorry if something similar has happened to you, but for us, this is just the beginning. Buckle up, My brother, Matt, finally arrived, and we talked for hours. He's always been my real best friend, and I need to remember that he'll always be there for me, no matter what, without judgment, even when we fight. He truly exemplifies true friendship. Last night, I decided to reply to my wife's text. I was supposed to be home, and it made sense that I'd be texting her since we're not allowed to have phones at work. She knows I can usually sneak in a few texts here and there. I told her I had to travel to one of my company's remote locations and wouldn't be able to call until the end of the weekend. I also said I'd reschedule our trip after canceling all the reservations. I had booked a romantic bed and breakfast on a vineyard, and she suggested bringing her best friend along for the weekend, since it was non-refundable. I told her I'd already given it to my brother and his wife, who would pay me back next month. This morning, I canceled all the reservations except the romantic one. I'm going with my brother. Luckily, the hotel let us switch from the honeymoon suite to a 2-bedroom. This is just turning into a long overdue fishing trip with my brother. There's a great lake nearby with boat rentals. At least I'm getting a free weekend out of this whole mess. That's easing my anxiety a bit and giving me time to think without having to talk to her for a few days. Right now, I'm leaning towards divorce. I honestly don't see any other way. My brother agrees, but he also wants me to talk to someone. Maybe a therapist. His wife has a friend who's a couples counselor and is willing to talk to me on Monday. Maybe it'll help me sort through some of this stuff, but I don't think it'll change my mind. In the meantime, I'm talking to lawyers and getting advice from this forum to prepare for what I think is inevitable. I don't want her to try and screw me over, but I'm not ruling anything out, so I need to be prepared for anything. Another quick update. Just letting you know where my head is at. The last few days have been a blur. Matt and I drove over 5 hours to the vineyard bed and breakfast. I'm so grateful for his support during this time. It helped me get my thoughts straight, even if it was mostly a venting session. Our fishing trip wasn't very successful. We both caught a couple of trout, but they were too small, so we had to release them. The owner of the B&B felt bad for us and gave us some free food, which was nice. We drove back to Matt's house on Sunday. He lives in the next town over, about an hour away from my house. Jun, Matt's wife, was waiting for us when we got there, and we all sat down and opened a bottle of white wine. That's when the weekend officially ended for me. Jun told me that she decided to spy on my wife while we were gone. She said the guy stayed at my house the entire night on Friday, and she showed up on Saturday morning just as he was leaving. She followed him home and found out where he lived. Then, on Saturday night, while she was texting me how much she loved and missed me, my wife spent the night at his apartment. Jun claims she was dividing her time between stalking my wife and visiting relatives in my town. She even caught my wife leaving his apartment on Sunday morning and took some pictures of them cuddling and kissing. I told her I didn't want to see them. Honestly, that just sealed the deal for me. If she can so easily go from telling me she loves me to being with another guy, I don't think I can ever trust her again. I still don't want to do anything rash though. I have to stay calm. Jun then told me that Sharon was joining us for dinner. Sharon is a psychotherapist that Jun knows. To be clear, this was my first time meeting Sharon, and she's never met my wife. We hit it off, and Sharon seemed like a really nice person. After dinner, Sharon and I took the dogs for a walk around Matt's neighborhood and had a private conversation. Sharon was really helpful. She listened well and made me feel like I didn't have to censor myself. Just talking honestly about how I felt was therapeutic. I love my brother, but this was new and much needed. That's the same reason I vent on Reddit. It helps me clear out some of the chaos in my head. The only real advice Sharon gave me was to not put off talking to my wife. She said the longer I wait, the harder it will be. I need clarity more than anything else right now, and my wife is the only one who can give it to me. Later that night, Jun and Matt invited me to stay with them for as long as I needed. I talked to my manager, and he was able to arrange corporate housing for me because I know Matt and Jun have limited space. I already stayed there every other week when I travel for work, and he said he could arrange for me to stay there full-time for a few months if I needed to. Later that week I scheduled a session with Sharon for the following week. I thought talking would be enough, and she agreed. I lay in bed all night Sunday, trying to figure out how to approach this. Even the hypothetical situation in my mind made me feel sick and depressed. I decided to just wing it. I usually perform well under pressure. I got up Monday morning and said goodbye to Matt and Jun. As I drove home, I wondered, what if he's there when I get home? I figured that would probably just make me even angrier than I already was. I decided to start with a drive-by. My wife's car and his truck weren't there. I went inside, gathered some essentials and some things I didn't want to leave behind. Then, I drove to his place. His truck was there, but so was her car. To find out where she was, I decided to text her. "Where are you?" She replied, "Getting groceries." I drove past the grocery store and confirmed she was there. I don't trust her at all right now, and admitting that makes me feel terrible. I texted her again and told her to come home, that we needed to talk. "What's wrong?" She replied. I just replied that she had to be prepared to be honest before turning off my phone. She came home. She came over to give me a kiss and a hug, as usual, but I turned away from her. "What's wrong?" she repeated. So I told her to start telling me the truth. She acted like she didn't know what I was talking about. I replied, "If you can't be honest, then I'm leaving." At that point, she started to panic and asked, "Are you talking about yoga?" I guess that was a start. I asked her what she was talking about, and she told me that she hadn't been going to yoga. "Where were you going if you weren't going to yoga?" I asked. She said she had been taking walks to distress because she was stressed about the move. I persisted. "So you decided to lie. Why did you feel the need to let me know that you were taking a walk to relieve stress?" I asked her. She said she didn't mean to lie and that she was worried she'd be making me feel more stressed. She didn't seem to be telling me the whole story. "What do you mean?" I asked, looking at her intently. "I think you're lying about more than just skipping yoga. I'm asking you to be honest again. If you continue to lie, this won't work because you have already lied to me." I said. "Oh, are you talking about last weekend when I went for drinks with some friends and came home late?" She followed up her attempt to deflect by claiming she was at a loss for words. I didn't know she went out for drinks later, a few hours away. I was at work. She explained that although she went out for drinks that evening, she didn't run into her supposed best friend. In response, I inquired, "Who did you see?" "No one. I just drank alone," she claimed. Naturally, I wasn't buying this, and I was getting impatient. Therefore, question, "Is that a thing now that you are drinking by yourself?" "Yeah. Maybe I have a problem," she replied. She had one last chance to be honest before I left, so I told her to get to the bottom of her drinking problem. After giving me a glance, she said she didn't know what else to say. I just got up and walked away. I usually take a drive to get away from her when we argue. She likely assumed this was the same, but then she noticed that I had taken my Xbox, clothes, and toiletries. She started blowing up my phone at that point. There's nothing more to say, I told her, because I offered her an opportunity to be honest. And she didn't. She pleaded with me to come home so we could discuss things face to face. She claimed she didn't know what she believed she'd done or why I was so unhappy. She reaffirmed her love for me and her vow to never harm me. Her words had always been consoling, and I blindly believed them. It felt like a sharp knife cutting through my heart in the worst way right now. I hung up because I couldn't take it any longer. Before I was prepared to respond once more, she called back roughly 40 times. "Did you talk to Karen, the best friend?" she asked this time. She responded, "Come home." I don't want to say this over the phone. When I asked why, in order to lower my heart rate, I agreed and continued driving for a little while longer. I then returned home. "I assume you spoke to Karen," she began. She went on to describe how they went out for drinks a few weeks earlier when I was at work. But I just gazed at her. When a few men began purchasing drinks for them, they simply cooperated. One of the guys tried to kiss her as they were leaving, but she quickly retreated and informed them that she was married. She then expressed her regret and wanted to inform me, but she was a fool and chose to keep it a secret from me. She also informed me that, without asking, Karen provided his friend my wife's number after hooking up with the other guy. Since then, he has texted her a few times, but she has never responded in writing. After all of that, I just asked her to show me her phone. And she did. Other than her mother and me. There were no texts at all. This was new to her because she never deletes her texts. When I investigated the deleted images, I discovered one of a guy I didn't recognize. Even though her photos were clean, she told me it was the man who attempted to kiss her. When I inquired who it was, "Why did you take a picture of him?" I asked her again. Once more, she placed the blame on herself, claiming that I was just being stupid. I pointed out that it's not a valid excuse and refused to allow her to get away with it. I pressed her once more to explain her actions. She claimed not to know. "Is that all you want to tell me? Or is there more?" I inquired, growing weary of the whole situation by this point. That was all she could think of. She said. I went out again. I didn't want to face any more hints of the truth. I climbed into my truck and headed out. She tried to stop me and she hurried outside. But I was already out of her grasp. After having my lunch and trying to think of what to do next, I went to the adjacent park and just sat on my tail. As I sat there, I started to recall other things I should have known better. Along with some of her girlfriends, my wife went out to the club. She wasn't home when I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I tried calling her several times, but nobody picked up. She called me back about half an hour later to ask if I could come get her. She informed me that they were unsuccessful in their attempt to hail a cab when I picked her up. Her buddy was approached by a pair of men who wanted to stop at home before offering them a ride. Her married buddy entered a room with one of the guys when they arrived at his residence. According to my wife, she looked for her for a long time before giving up and waiting with the roommates in the kitchen while enjoying a drink. When I tried to call her, she said she didn't hear her phone. We got into a fight over this, and she ended her friendship with her friend because she was disgusted by what they had done. I assumed that was the end of it. She once made the trip to another city to see a close friend. A scheduled girls' night was held. 4 of the girls were in their pajamas, watching movies while intoxicated. That's what I was told anyway. She then gave me a good-night call at around 1 in the morning. She kept telling me that they were having a nice girls' night during our 20-minute conversation. Then, in the distance, I heard a man's voice. She initially denied hearing anything when I questioned who it was. Then, loudly, it occurred once again. "Oh, a friend took a couple of guys with her," she answered, unable to deny it. Everyone in this place is furious about it. She was 3 hours away and intoxicated. She forced me to put my trust in her once more. We discussed that, as well as her refusal to inform me of their presence. She vowed never to place herself in such a predicament again. That obviously didn't stick. I was prepared to try this one last time after recalling all of those things and our discussions about them. My phone rang nearly instantly after I switched it back on. She was yelling for me to come home when I responded. I returned home by car. As soon as I stepped inside, she was there, crying uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," she kept saying while seated on the couch. "What are you sorry for?" I asked. She started to rock crazily back and forth. She confessed to lying about the man who attempted to kiss her after it took her a solid 5 minutes to collect her breath enough to talk. I asked her to explain what had transpired after giving her a quick glance. She claimed that that evening, the 4 of them returned to his house and played about. Even though I knew there was more, I felt lightheaded simply listening to her say it. There seemed to be a million people talking into my ears at once, and the room seemed to be getting smaller. I believed that I was experiencing a panic attack. To get things back to normal, I went to the restroom and washed my face with cold water. "What exactly did you do?" I asked her again. I forced her to do it even though she attempted to avoid it. She went on to say that she gave him head after he touched her. Was that it? Knowing it wasn't all of it. And she said, yes. At this point, I was furious and informed her that I would no longer play the trickle truth game and that we would either stop talking or she would have to tell me everything at once. It took her a few more minutes to talk when she started crying once more. She now admits that they had another encounter and shared a kiss. Then, right away, "I'm so sorry. I will stop at nothing to make up for this because I love you." Just the one time, I asked her, knowing the truth. If she tells me the truth, I should please give her a chance to do everything she can to make up for it. She continued after pausing. I promised to give it some thought. And now the whole truth was revealed. She acknowledged that it had been an affair for over a month and that they had been having sex while I was out of town for work. She informs me that he is married and that their divorce is imminent. Does he know you're married? I questioned. Yes. She replies. Do you think our marriage is failing if he was having an affair because his is failing? I then question. No. I don't think ours is failing. She responds. Before going on to say, I'm so dumb. I despise myself. Don't leave me. Please. I can make this right. How would you do that? I inquired. And she stated she would do anything I requested. What would fix this for you if you were in my shoes? Or the shoes of your affair partner's wife? I questioned her. She said that it would be resolved if she knew the truth and could believe that I meant what I was saying. Then she said, I'm trustworthy. I made a mistake and will not do it again. Would you want to know the truth if you were his wife? Yes. She replied. Then fix this. I said. Do you want me to call his wife? After giving me a look, if you believe that's what she would want. She attempted to call but never received a response. Her cell phone rang a couple of minutes later. Karen Work was stated as the name. I know it wasn't Karen because of the shocked expression on her face. Is that him? I questioned. It was, she said. Oops. I must have the wrong number. Being the coward that he is. No. This is the husband of the girl you have been having an affair with. I said. She has something to tell you. So I'm going to let you talk to her. I handed the phone to her. She claims that she told him the whole truth. Everything I know. That they were only having a brief affair. And that he should never get in touch with her again. Before she hung up and asked him, what divorce lawyer are you using? I demanded to see the phone. I'm not getting divorced. He responded. Why did you tell my wife you were? I didn't. He stated. I then requested to talk to his wife since I believe she should be aware of this just as much as I am. Please. Dude. He said. I didn't realize she was married. Don't let a mistake destroy my marriage. You ruined mine over a mistake. I shot back. It is only right that I inform his spouse. Since she was at work, he begged me not to tell her, promising to tell her everything when she got home. I hung up after saying, all right, you do that. I then turned to my wife and asked her whether she knew the name and place of employment of his wife. She did. My wife called to let me know she was at work. She managed to get her on the phone and instructed her to sit down. This woman stated she will phone my wife back from her car as she was about to depart for the day. She did. What's going on? Was the first question she asked. My wife informed her that she didn't want to start any mishaps and that she had something awful to share with her. Please don't drive. The wife was obviously alarmed and inquired as to the whereabouts of her affair companion. My wife informed her that he was currently in their apartment and doing well. My wife went on to add, I just wanted to let you know that we have been having an affair for the past month, since I'm currently coming clean to my husband. I felt you should be treated with the same deference. After a minute or so of silence, the affair partner's wife claimed she would find out who my wife was if this was some sick joke. She hung up after that. Karen Work texted my wife less than 10 minutes later, saying thanks. You just ruined my life. I picked up the phone and replied, you just destroyed 2 marriages and 4 lives. Remember that. You bit of junk. You were to blame for. My wife pleaded with me to stay with her for the next hour. She promised me sexual favors, counseling, and the promise that she would always be by my side. She suggested that we take that trip as a reward. Because of the comments. This was just what I expected. I went. But she wasn't expecting me to inform her. Additionally, she wasn't prepared for me to inform her that I already had a counseling appointment. She most certainly didn't anticipate my telling her that I had slept with her in my own bed. She probably didn't anticipate that I would have a hotel reservation in place. She sobbed on the floor when I told her all of that. She began to complain that she didn't deserve to live. She advised me to break up with her immediately since she is too awful to be with anybody else. That was how it continued for some time. I listened to her justifications for 4 hours straight, during which time she tried to give me a hug, a cuddle, or even head if I would just remain and work things out with her. When I finally found Karen, I informed her that her unfaithful buddy was suicidal and asked her to come watch her. After that, I departed. I haven't spoken to her since that incident, which occurred about a full day ago. All day long, she has been phoning and texting me. All day long, her friends and family have been phoning and texting me. Each one has a different justification or request for sympathy. The only person to write to me was her father, who assured me that he would always love me like a son, no matter what, and that I should act in my own best interest. I had my first good cry since this whole thing started when I read it. My counselor Sharon and I have appointments tomorrow and Thursday respectively, though I'm unsure of everything until it happens. I believe I know where this is headed. I apologize for the long story. It's just a good method to get things out. Once more, thank you very much for all of the letters and comments. I feel so much less damaged and more hopeful because of the folks who are sharing their own tales like this. I truly appreciate all of your words and actions on my behalf. Well done. Let's proceed to the last update now. It was a pretty eventful week. I've been alternating between my brother's house and camp. I only stay on nights when I have an early appointment because I want to be as unobtrusive as possible. Permission to take a few weeks off for personal reasons. I've kept going to see the therapist, Sharon. So far, I've seen her 3 times. Personally, I feel better now than I did a week ago. Therefore, even if I don't think our visits are very fruitful, I do think they're a nice opportunity for me to get some things off my mind. I will, therefore, continue for the time being. Last Thursday, I had a conversation with a lawyer. I compiled a list of all assets and financial information, including debt, under their guidance. After that, I went to the bank and requested that they put a stop on our account so that no one could take money out of them without the other. This won't prevent either of us from obtaining new money, just the old shared money, because we both have our paychecks deposited into our own accounts. Although it's now too late, the lawyer did advise me to wait to confront her until after I've served her the summons. I was getting calls and texts from my wife, her family, and her friends almost nonstop throughout the entire week. My sister-in-law hosted a family gathering at the cabin this past weekend. I went and had to tell my family the news. Now that it's public knowledge, I can incorporate them into my recuperation process. Up until about 8 o'clock on Saturday night, everything was going as smoothly as it could be when my wife's automobile arrived. My dad's brother and I were gathered around the fire. Matt, my brother, assured me he would handle everything. In order to avoid being seen from the driveway, my dad and I made the decision to take a stroll around the property. I could hear my wife yelling at my brother to move out of the path as we were just about to enter the woodland. She was accompanied by a few of her pals. He tried his hardest, but in the end, they were too much for him. She pushed past him and came running toward us. She must have noticed us going in that direction. I stated I would handle her, even though my dad offered to handle it. My wife, who I'll just call Kate, came racing to me and started crying. I didn't stop her from giving her a hug right away, but I also didn't give her one in return. She pleaded with me simply to talk to her. I accept, and in order to have some peace, we strolled around the property trails. The other guy's wife has left. According to Kate, she told me that he blamed her for everything and threatened to kill himself over the phone. She says she hasn't spoken to him since telling him to simply do it. She then takes out a piece of paper and begins enumerating the ways she intends to make amends with me. She provided all of these services on the first day, including sexual requests and couples therapy. And then she surprised me. I don't want to continue living this way, she says. She stated that she wants us to both quit our jobs and go abroad. She claimed that if I accompanied her, she would depart immediately. In order to contextualize this is all that came to mind for the previous week as I tried to picture my life after the divorce. I assumed that everything would have to be restarted. I might as well add another element to the tremendous change I'm currently going through and just do what I want. I was reminded of how much I missed her and wanted to be with her when I heard her express the same desire. I knew I had to cut the conversation short at that point. Her buddies were waiting for her when I escorted her back to her car. I informed her that although I couldn't guarantee anything more, I would be open to talking on the phone. She felt enough at ease to depart. Since then, We've talked on the phone every night. But it never changes. I hung up after becoming upset with her for what she done. Right now, I'm having a terrible time missing her. It's difficult to talk to someone who was my best friend for decades. It is heartbreaking to realize that all of our hopes and dreams have been thrown away. The only thing I want is to simply move and start fresh somewhere else. She wrecked it. Even though I wanted that to be with her. She took that away from me. That's all. With any luck, he was able to complete the divorce, relocate to a beach, and open his bar. At least we know that the affair partner received his just desserts and that he was able to confront his unfaithful wife. Wrapping up, I just hope that the original poster is content with his life and enjoying himself wherever he is. So, after hearing this whole unbelievable saga, did I handle things the right way? Was I too harsh? Too forgiving? Or did I find the right balance considering the circumstances? I'm really torn about the ending. This whole experience has left me questioning everything I thought I knew about love and commitment. Any feedback or opinions would be appreciated, as I need to hear any outside perspectives I can while going through this.